entertainment event in terms of sports entertainment worldwide is happening on the FITE TV Network this weekend, Sunday, June the 19th in Nashville, Tennessee. It's the one and only Impact Slammiversary, their main event, their showcase event each year. And this year, one of the main rivals is the faction match between the stable Honor No More versus the Impact Originals. And Impact Originals consist of the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian, and two members yet to be revealed. They'll go up against the Honor No More stable of Eddie Edwards, Vincent, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and PCO. And I'm delighted to be joined this evening by one of the originals of Impact Wrestling, one half of the Motor City Machine Guns, and the one and only Chris Sabin. Chris, delighted to be talking to you there this evening ahead of Slammiversary. I suppose you're excited, and I suppose, are you excited like all the fans are excited to see who that big reveal is going to be and who the two final members of the Impact Originals are going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm definitely as excited as the fans, because honestly, I don't know who it's going to be. So I'm going to find out right before the fans find out. So yeah, I'm excited.
And I suppose, Chris, there's so many names being thrown around the place, the likes of Christopher Daniels, James Storm, Jay Lethal, Samoan Joe, all those sort of names bring back so many memories for you yourself. You've gone across all those guys throughout so many years as well. So there's a bit of excitement and general anticipation about this sort of faction match, given that unknown quantity as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anyone. There's so many different names that it could be that, you know, could possibly be on Team Impact Original. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to find out who it is.
I suppose, Chris, teaming up with Frankie Kazarian again recently, back with Impact Wrestling. One of his first matches back was against yourself, Frankie Kazarian Pro. How good is it, Frankie Kazarian back in Impact Wrestling, and you, the Motor Machine Guns, getting to team up with him again?
Yeah, I love having Frankie back in Impact Wrestling. You know, it's kind of like a full circle thing, because he was one of my first like real feuds in TNA back in the day in 2003. We had a bunch of matches over the X Division Championship back then, and then here we are. You know, back then it was called the Battle of the Futures too, because both of us had the nickname The Future. I was the future Chris Sabin, he was the future Frankie Kazarian. So we had the Battle of the Futures, and then here we are 20 years later, 20 years in the future, doing the Battle of the Futures all over again. So yeah, it's great to have him back. And I'm, you know, Frankie's an amazing wrestler, great guy, and you know, happy to have him on my side.
And I suppose, Chris, one of the interesting elements of this matchup as well is that the stable leader of Honor No More is Eddie Edwards, and he was part of a famous sort of tag team himself in the Wolves alongside Davey Richards. So you got probably two of the best elements of tag team wrestling in terms of the Motor City Machine Guns, and one half of the Wolves in terms of this sort of statement. So there's a bit of bragging rights, I imagine, as well, given the history in terms of both sort of tag teams as well, in this sort of, because both are looked as the sort of pioneers of Impact Wrestling in terms of tag teams. So this faction brings an extra spice. I suppose there's no love lost between the Motor City Machine Guns and the Wolves either.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we actually have the advantage there, because Alex Shelley and myself, we're actually on the same team. Eddie Edwards, yeah, he's a great tag team wrestler, and the Wolves were an amazing tag team, very important to the history of Impact Wrestling. But Davey Richards isn't there with them. His tag team partner that he's had all these great tag team matches with isn't on his side. So I think we actually have the advantage as far as like the tag team power goes.
And I suppose there's so many sort of interesting elements. There's so many sort of factions and stables that have gone through the eras in TNA wrestling. This Honor No More wrestling stable, I suppose it's a threat. Many people will see it to the future of trying to take over TNA wrestling. Do you see it on the same level as the Aces or Eights or factions like that on the past? Is it a real threat?
I think they're a real threat. Would I put them on the level of the Aces and Eights? I don't think so. I don't think I would put them up at that level yet. I think they're trying to ascend to that level, but I think that we're going to stop them dead in their tracks this Sunday at Slammiversary.
I suppose there must be an extra bit of added incentive given what they've done to a great friend of yours as well, Rhino, another sort of founding member of Impact Wrestling and such a great history, obviously to lay out such a colleague of yours as well. That obviously going to add a bit more spice to that match. There's a bit of revenge in the air, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And Rhino's a fellow Detroit boy. You know, he's from the same city as Alex Shelley and myself. So, you know, when you mess with someone from our hometown, that just, you know, it's a little extra motivation to just want to kick their ES.
And I suppose, Chris, I can't but run through one or two of the other matches that we have on Slammiversary. Everyone's talking about it. There's been so many great Monster Balls matches in the past with the likes of Abyss and stuff. Sami Callihan, we all know he's a dangerous customer. Getting inside there with Moose. Moose is probably in a different sort of elements, Monsters Ball, not something he'd be too familiar with.
Yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to. I like the Monsters Ball matches a lot. And plus, I mean, Moose injured Sami. Moose prevented Sami from wrestling for 9-10 months, whatever it was, you know. So Sami's coming in there with like a lot of heated revenge on his mind. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And I suppose Josh Alexander defending his title against the crazy man, Eric Young. You just sort of don't know what Eric sort of brings in from night out. A consummate pro, one of actually the founding members of Impact Originals. But Eric's on top form. He's practically unstoppable as well. Yes,
and he's a very psychological, mentally focused wrestler. You know, he's the kind of guy that'll trick you using his mind. And Josh Alexander is more of like straight up athlete, smash mouth in your face, technical, hit hard kind of wrestler. So yeah, it's a nice you know, balance of styles there. So that'll be a real good match.
And we have to mention the knockouts as well. Madison Rayne, she's been a pioneer for women's wrestling. She's been probably one of the longest females in women wrestling. The Queen of Queens. She's got a team up with Tenele Dashwood to go against Rosemary, the psychotic Rosemary, and Taya Valkyrie. And whenever Madison Rayne is against the wall, she always seems to come out with a way to notch up a victory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's a legend of the knockouts division, you know, and she's going to prove that.
And I suppose the Briscoes, as a tag team wrestlers, Briscoes against the Good Brothers, Mark and Jay, Doc versus Carl Anderson, tag team titles. No doubt Motor City Machine Guns are teaming up for that's in the radar, not the distant future. So probably one eye, if not two eyes, on that match as well.
Yes. Which one was that? I'm sorry. The audio went out just for a moment.
Sorry, the Briscoes against the Good Brothers. Obviously, one eye on that, given the Motor City Machine Guns coming back together again. Obviously, that might be an ambition for you in the near future to get on the coattails of whoever comes out on top of that, Chris.
For sure. That's a match I'm definitely going to watch, because you never know. But Motor City Machine Guns might be gunning for those tag team championships again.
And I suppose, Chris, into going back to Honor No More match, and I suppose these sort of stable matches, there's so many different elements in it. It's almost got like a street fight type of mentality where everything is a whip and everything is sort of a threat. He can go anywhere all across the arena. That sort of untamed carnage and chaos. Is that where you sort of love in terms of wrestling, in terms of that everything and anything can happen in these side of the matches, and it doesn't necessarily define between inside those four corners of the ropes in terms of these sort of stable faction matches, that so many different elements can be involved in. You yourself or any other member of your stable might not be involved in the penultimate decision, but then again, you might have a big saying on what happens as well.
Yeah, that provides, I think, just a big element of excitement to matches like this, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know where the match is going to go. You know, what's going to happen, who's going to use what, who's going to beat up who, you know. It's just, yeah, matches like this usually turn out to be chaos, and I love it.
And I suppose the chaos element for you, Chris, Nashville, Tennessee, probably a packed audience as well, Chris Sabin, for you, finally fighting amongst the big crowd on TNA's Impact Wrestling's one of its biggest events in the year in FITE TV. You must be exciting, jumping at the bit. And are you still very much a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast? And if you weren't fighting, would you be paying your money to be one of those fans and cheering on what is bound to be a world-class event?
Yeah, I absolutely would. Before I started in TNA, I ordered a couple of the pay-per-views, and I was just an independent wrestler at the time. But yeah, so I was a fan. I was a fan before I even wrestled here. So it's very cool that we're going back to the Nashville Fairgrounds. That's where TNA started. I think the building that they originally used to run is tore down, so it's going to be in a new building, but still at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and it's going to bring back a lot of memories. It's going to be very nostalgic for me and hopefully for the fans just to witness this kind of event, and it being the 20-year anniversary being where it all started. So
on that note, Chris Sabin, an absolute pleasure joining us this evening as we look in joyful anticipation of Impact's Slammiversary this Sunday, June the 19th, on the FITE TV Network. Do check out Chris's match. It's a stable match. Honor No More, Eddie Edwards, Vincent, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and PCO versus the Impact Originals, Alex Shelley, Frankie Kazarian, our guests, Chris Sabin, and the two mystery partners. You just have to tune in to find out who they are. But for the moment, Chris Sabin, take care, God bless, and thanks for joining us.